In this video, we are going to talk about our trig functions. Let's start by defining them. It's defined right here for us. A trig function is a function whose rule is defined by trig ratio. So really we need to define trig ratio. Compares the length of two sides of a triangle. So remember, ratio just means a comparison between two numbers. We're going to do that using a fraction in this case. And what we're going to use is the Greek letter theta. Looks like that. That's theta. To represent the measure of an acute angle in a right triangle. So let's start on our picture over here. This is our theta. Now, anytime that we are talking about sine, cosine, tangent, and then I don't know if you've learned cosecant, secant, cotangent, but those as well. Anytime we're talking about those, they always need to be in reference to an angle. So we're going to be in reference to this angle. There's three terms that are important to us. The hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is always easy because it is across from the right angle. So there. And then we have the two legs A and B. Now, we have to label one of them as opposite and one of them as adjacent. So remember, the angle we're using is this one right here. So adjacent is the side that touches that. So this is adjacent. And then opposite is the side opposite that. It doesn't touch that one. So this one is opposite. Now notice this is all in reference to this angle here. If I were talking about this angle, these two would be flip-flopped. The adjacent would be touching, and then the opposite would be across from. So it's very important that we understand those. And then we're just going to define our 6 trig ratios, our 3 basic ones, sine, cosine, and tangent, and then our 3 reciprocal ones where we're going to flip them, cosecant, secant, and cotangent. We're going to define those using those 3 words, opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. Okay, and these are definitions. That's all it is. We're going to compare these two sides. The reason we do this is because when we have our right triangles, those ratios are going to stay, we're going to be able to use those ratios to find missing sides and missing angles. That's the key. All right, so here we go, because of similar triangles, if you want to know why. All right, so our sine is going to be defined as opposite over hypotenuse. I'm going to abbreviate because I didn't leave myself very much room here. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So in the case of this diagram, if we're looking at theta, it's A over C. Now, I don't memorize the A over C. I memorize the opposite over hypotenuse. Now, real quick, notice the way I said that. Sine of theta. It's kind of like our log. Log by itself means nothing. Sin by itself means nothing. And I know it says sin, but it's sine. It's abbreviation for this. So don't say sin theta. It's sine theta. Don't say cos theta. Say cosine theta, even when you're reading this. Cosine of theta is defined as adjacent over hypotenuse. So in the case of our drawing over here, it's B over C. Again, I'm not going to memorize the B over C. I'm going to memorize the adjacent over hypotenuse. And then tangent is opposite over adjacent. Tangent does not use a hypotenuse. Now, there is a little mnemonic device. So, ka, to, I did not make that up. You're going to hear your teacher say it through the years. SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. And again, super important that you're always paying attention to where your theta is. Okay, your reciprocal functions use those. So cosecant and sine go together. Cosecant is 1 over sine. I don't know why cosecant goes with sine and not cosine. I'm sure there's a reason, but I don't know it. Notice if I do 1 over sine, think back to our complex fractions, what that does is flip the sign. So instead of opposite over hypotenuse, it's going to be hypotenuse over opposite. And then secant goes with cosine. We're going to flip the cosine. Secant of theta is hypotenuse over adjacent. And then cotangent of theta goes with tangent. Those two make sense to me. Cotangent and tangent, they should be together. I'm going to flip that, and it is adjacent over opposite. So I'll be honest with you, I don't memorize these. I memorize SOHCAHTOA, and then I know which ones go together, so I can just flip them. Okay, we're going to talk about using these, but we're going to do that in the next video.